right now in Europe. How's the
Yeah.
tour going, and what are the reactions of the people to the new songs that you're playing?
Well, it's very early in this tour. It's only two shows so far, and we're in Dusseldorf, Germany today. So the first two shows have been fantastic. The crowd reaction is very positive to the two new songs that we're performing on stage on this tour so far. So we're very eager and very excited about performing these new songs live for fans.
Hmm. And I think that it must be very difficult when you play a 35-minute set list to choose to combine songs of your past, songs of
Yeah,
your new album.
yeah.
What's the procedure behind this? I mean, don't you ever get fights in within the band about the
Yeah,
songs?
I basically tell the band members to get out of the way. It's going to be up to me, and they can deal with that. I mean, the good thing is I kind of have always been the guy to select the set list for live, to put the album together when the songs are finished, to do the song order on albums as well. I just think the band knows that it's kind of what I've always done. I enjoy it, and I think I'm pretty good at selecting the correct songs. But you're right, for only a 35-minute set is one thing. Good thing on this tour, we have a 45-minute set. So Obituary is able to play a pretty proper set for a support act. So it's challenging because it's 11 albums, 120 something songs now, and we can select 10 to play tonight. So
Yeah.
it's tough, man.
And fortunately enough, your brother is not talking too much between the songs.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just go again and again and again
Yeah.
and again.
And you don't have to cut a song of your set list.
Right.
that that what we are describing sounds a bit Mike Portnoy to me. The drummer taking care of everything. And
Yeah.
you are one of the few drummers that who writes music. And what does a drummer uh, bring to a song from a drummer point of view? Because some people say that drummers are not musicians. Let's change their mind now.
Yeah. Well, let me only speak for myself and for my band. Uh, I am a very creative person. I take 1 inch, they give me 1 inch, and I take it a mile. And if Trevor has a guitar riff, I can't get any more excited sometimes about the ideas that start happening with me and the structure of that song. And once we get what we think is a song finished, it's sometimes almost a mental breakdown. I can't stop thinking about that song and how do you make that song better than maybe what it is, and does that song need a bridge before that second verse, and is that ending part good enough? And it's been fun 30 years writing together, and this last album is a perfect example that when we're finished with a song and we turn the Pro Tools rig off and the studio is finished, it's usually me who constantly thinks of that song that next day and the day after. And yeah, ideas always come up, and I say, listen, man, we think that song was finished, but I think during this part before the ending, I think we need something. And so I'm always that pushing force. I'm always that creative force that pushes us to make the song a little bit more than what we thought the finished product was.
Um, I think that I was pretty positive, pretty sure that you would release a killer album like Dying of Everything. When I saw your videos from your on your Facebook page, the videos, the live streams, and everything, did that attitude that you had during the making help you create such a killer album? Which I think that everybody says that's almost equivalent to your first 3 or 4 albums. And I agree with them. I totally agree.
I think it helped. I think, I mean, because we have been writing ideas for this album for 3, 4 years now. So some of these ideas and some of these songs were definitely before this pandemic hit. But we were still creating music and still working on the songs during the pandemic. And like you said, we did the live streams, which we had to relearn the entire Slowly We Rot and the entire Cause of Death album and the Incomplete. We did all three of the first three albums. So I think revisiting those old riffs and those old songs, I think it had no choice but to put a little influence into these new songs, and it did it. It stirred up some old juices from back when we were teenagers and 20-year-old. So I think it was a good contributing factor, and I think it did help.
Saying this, uh, from the old school death metal bands like Obituary, you are one of the few bands that continue with this 6 year gap that this stop gap that you had, that continue and all have almost a steady lineup with the core of you, John and Trevor. Which is uh, the motive of a 50-plus-year-old musician to play death metal? Is
You
this
know,
the
it,
ignorant? Is this the young metal attack or the maturity that comes through touring?
yeah, I don't know. We were so excited as teenagers to become a band, and all we wanted to do was be a rock band, be a heavy metal band, and we can thank Venom for that. We can thank Slayer for that. We could thank Hellhammer for that. But we were always so excited about being a band, writing some music. I mean, we took it to the point where we were building stages and building drum risers in the late '80s, early '90s, and making stages in friends' backyards to play a party and just play our songs. So it was there at a very early age, and we are still like, even though we're in our 50s now, we still have that teenager mentality and that excitement that no other thing in my life, nothing else compares to the creation of new songs, the idea of performing obituary songs for fans live that want to come to the shows and see it. I do one thing well in life, and that's play drums and perform live my instrument. And that excitement never goes away. And it's just something I've loved since I was 7 years old. And it's still the main thing that gets me really, really excited in life.
Yeah, and we can see it from the beginning of the album. The album starts with the song "Barely Alive," and when I put the song, I said, "Wait, is that Obituary?" Before hearing the lyrics and John's voice. Okay, what's this? I think it's an extremely fast track for Obituary. And what made you play like a maniac? I mean, I think it's your part that made the song so fast. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. Very cold beer and very good marijuana, I think. I don't know. Again, I've been playing drums now for 45 of my 53 years. I guess it's just this many decades of practicing drums, being in love with my drum, my instrument. I am a fan of still practicing and learning and getting better. And I don't know, man. I'm faster than I've ever been when it comes to my feet, and it's just fun. It's a good time, and it was one of those. Of course, it was one of those things where I felt fast at the time we wrote that song, and when we were finished writing it and finished recording it, of course I looked in the mirror and I said, "Oh my God, what have I done? Now I have to play this every night."
every night, yeah, because it's the album opener. You have to play that every night. Do you do you do jogging or stuff like that? Do you practice your body in order to perform live?
Yeah, I stay extremely busy and extremely active when I'm at home. and I'm with my drum set. I practice 6 days a week, just because of, again, the love of playing my instrument. So I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm excited still to be able to do this for a living, and it's fun. So I'm looking forward to the challenge of barely alive.
But you do not only love your instrument, you also love cats, and especially feral cats.
Yeah,
Everybody was surprised when we saw this CNN footage of showing this Metal Meowlisha, which is which is really great. And I think that people outside metal, if they saw, I think the whole footage started with a Wrong Again video, and
yeah,
if they saw you on the playing drums for Obituary, and then
yeah,
saw you feeding feral cats, they would say,
yeah,
"No, man, this cannot happen." I think that
yeah.
people think that metal musicians, and especially death metal musicians, are monsters and they eat animals, they not feed them.
Yeah,
And this thing coincided with the release of your album. How do you see that as a part of a promotion of the album? I would say.
yeah. It does go to show that no matter what your profession is, no matter what you do for a living, we are human beings, and I saw this problem in Tampa, Florida, with the overpopulation of homeless cats, and I'm an animal lover. My family has always owned pets, dogs and cats and birds and snakes. But cats are an issue where I live with the homeless population. So I learned many years ago how I can do my part, which is the spay neuter return program, getting them all vaccinated and getting them all spay neutered. To try to stop the breeding process. And that's what I've done for 17 years. I'm very passionate about it. Anybody who has seen the Metal Meowlisha, they can see that, when I'm home, I'm very committed to the colonies that I take care of and my homeless population outside.
That's fantastic, and it's great that you do it, and you pave the way for many more people to do that thing, because it's always an issue, not only in
Yeah,
Tampa but everywhere in the world.
that's true. And I'm glad that I can even raise a little bit of awareness. That's really that means a lot to me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Before your European tour, you toured in the US with Amon Amarth and Carcass and many bands. That's a killer package too. Um, can you tell me, how do you see the audiences? Are there any youngsters that enjoy obituary music, or are they people of our age that grew up with Slowly We Rot and Cause of Death?
Yeah, it's incredible because, of course, the devoted fans over the last 30 years, people our age, they are showing up and they're happy to see that Obituary is still on stage and still kicking ass. But it is amazing. It is amazing to us to see how many young people, and I don't mean young people as in 30-year-old people. I mean young people. I'm talking about teenagers and 20-year-olds and even younger, coming with their families, and their fathers are bringing their sons. It's great. It is great to see the vast age difference in the crowds. What a great thought that the metal torch is being passed on, and these young fans are enjoying the old guys. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because uh, all the people involved in this industry, from your point of view to our point of view, should see young blood entering the heavy metal scene, because I think that we only see, we go to the shows and we see the same people that we have been seeing each other at the shows for 30 years or more, and I
Yeah,
get tired of watching them. Now I don't because of the pandemic, because we don't have that many shows. But before
yeah.
the pandemic, I didn't care about calling them. I was just seeing them on shows. No, we were having a beer anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, can you tell me about this beard oil that you have? You are promoting. You are selling a beard oil. Uh, who came up with this idea? This, I think it's called redneck.
Yeah, I mean, it is a friend of ours that is from Florida that does her beard oils, and it's just one of those things that I have had a beard. Trevor has had a beard now for 25, 30 years, and it's just a fun product. We know it doesn't sell very many, but it was fun. It is something that we thought was at least interesting. And so, of course, you know, to put a smile on somebody's face, we could have called it something chopped in half or, you know, something serious, but instead we called it high class redneck. You know, and you know, you put some on and you smell like $1 million leaving the trailer park. You know, so
Yeah, I think that it would sell more if it was if the scent was sweat and you know
yeah,
after the death metal show for the
yeah.
death metal fans.
Yeah, we thought of that. We thought of combining swamp water with some alligator piss, you know. But you know, you got to face reality, and you do still want to smell good, and it is a great smelling beard oil.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Uh, how was it to tour with Slayer on their farewell tour?
Dream, absolute dream tour. We were waiting for the call for 30 years. Um, when they announced that it was their last tour, we were faced with the reality that Obituary might never have the opportunity. And then we were lucky enough to be one of the very few bands that had the opportunity to tour with Slayer. And it's what we call a bucket list for me. It was something I've always wanted to do in my career. Sadly, it wasn't with Dave Lombardo, which was one of my heroes, but it was with Slayer, and it was unbelievable. To watch them live every night was a dream, but the thing that really sticks out is how well they treated us. From the minute we walked in the first arena, the band, the crew, everybody, they treated us like family, and that meant a lot because they didn't have to do that. They could have just said, "You're an opening band. Your room is over there. Stay away from us until showtime, until your showtime." But instead, you have Tom Araya coming into our room and chatting with us, and you have Kerry King inviting the band to go have a shot of Jägermeister at the end of his show. So it was unbelievable. It was a dream for us, and the shows were incredible. But it's the after the show, and it's the days off, and it's to be able to have a conversation with Tom Araya that I'll remember. Not my performance in Dublin, Ireland. I don't even remember my performance half the time, but I remember the conversations and to be able to hang out and have a beer with Tom, that kind of stuff. It was a dream tour for us.
Yeah, and it's great that I think that's rejuvenating because after so many years of touring and releasing albums and all the stuff, you feel like the young kid that started listening to heavy metal, and you have the same passion. And I think that this passion worked on your new album. I think that played a vital role.
Yeah, it you know, and again, we are still young at heart,
Mm.
especially when it comes to creating music and performing and putting on a show and having a good time on stage. You know, we have always been known as one of those bands that's just very good live. We are solid. We usually put on a very tight performance when it comes to the band playing their songs, but we also are not afraid to have a good time, smile on stage, and just show and not hide the fact that we're very lucky. We're fortunate to be healthy. We're fortunate to be a band that can tour the world and to be on these big tours like this and be a part of it. It's an honor. It's something we don't take for granted, and
Yeah.
that's why you see big smiles on our face because we know it's the greatest job. It's the greatest job I could have ever dreamt of having as an adult,
Mhm.
and that's being able to play my drums live.
Yeah. Speaking about this tour with Slayer, I'd like to ask you, do you think that if there had been such a move when you had released The End Complete and bands like Slayer, like Metallica, like Megadeth, uh, chose support acts as support acts, bands like Obituary, Carcass, Death. Do you think that the whole death metal movement would have been more popular? Something like what happened with Sepultura, for example, which turned out to be huge. Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the one to answer that. I don't think any of us are the ones to answer that. The history of the world is simply that. It's history, and it whatever happened, the way it happened, is uh, is history. So we can only imagine what it might have done for the metal scene 25 years ago, but uh, I'm not going to complain. You know, Obituary has had a great career. We've had a great time, and Slayer was our bucket list band, and we were finally able to do that
yeah.
at least once.
What's your opinion about death metal bands split in two, like Morbid Angel and I Am Morbid, like
Yeah,
Death to All and Left to Die with Terry Butler on
yeah.
the band? What's your opinion about this split of?
I you know it is a tough it is one of the toughest things to be in a band for a long period of time because you're only on stage for 1 hour a day, but it's 23 hours a day that you have to live together. You have to accept each other's personalities. You're basically in a marriage with the other band members, and it like most marriage or like many marriages, they don't always last forever, and it's very tough. That's why I find Obituary to be extremely lucky that myself and Trevor and my brother have been together for 40 years almost, and so it's tough. I don't want to comment on the Morbid Angel and the Venom, this Venom Inc. This it's just tough, I'm glad that I'm not in that boat. I'm glad that Obituary is and will always be Obituary. And you know, I guess at certain points, some of those bands they have to move on. They have to figure out what they want to do.
Mhm. What's the wildest story you have ever heard about Obituary, and it's not true?
That is not true. God, oh man, I don't know. I don't have an
Have you ever
answer for that.
have you ever heard any wild stories about Obituary?
I don't, you know, I I could tell 101 crazy stories or wild stories, but again, man,
They
it's a
are true.
business. Every day something happens that's wild. Every show have something happens that wild. But honestly, you know, you move forward as a band, and it is a company, it is a business. We are responsible for many crew members and their careers as well, and so it's business, you know, and it's best when there's not crazy stories because that means the company is running well. That means the tour is organized. And that means the band is healthy and having a good time. And we're not scraping each other off the floor from being too drunk every night. But, you know, you can imagine how many stories of
Yeah.
dragging band members back to their bunks. That's a daily occurrence.
Did you face any problem from the pandemic in getting the crew together? Uh, did you face any kind of problem because of that?
No, not at all. I mean, we're in Florida. I think the world saw that. Yes, the whole world shut down, but America was the first to try to open, and Florida was the first to just say, "Listen, you know, at a certain point, keeping the world locked down is going to be worse repercussions than the pandemic and that virus. Go get vaccinated, and then treat it as if you have a cold or flu." Keeping our children out of schools with masks, those 2 years that those young people lost, the repercussions of that is probably worse than the virus because they lost social skills, they lost their ability to look each other in the eye, and which is a pandemic as already with everybody with their smartphones and young people with their PlayStations and their games, they're losing social social skills with talking to humans one-on-one, face-to-face. So it's just one of those things where you had to move on, and the sooner the better, in my opinion.
Before the end, how does John remember the lyrics of the first albums?
Good fucking idea. Good question. I have no idea. The good thing is
Just
that how
improvises.
yeah, it's in his brain. It's his own language on those first two albums, but the new album just kind of shows that John, like all of us, each album, each song you write, you hope you get better. You hope you get more experience every time you enter the studio. And I think my brother did a fantastic job with not only his vocal performance, but his lyric performance on this new album.